Hello, and here we are, Parry's Pickups number 50. I have to say, when I started doing these videos, I never thought I'd get up to 50. I thought I'd try them, see how they were, see if people liked them first of all, and yeah, I did not expect to be doing them up to number 50. So thank you for checking them out, because if people hadn't been watching them, then I wouldn't be doing them now, so I really do appreciate you checking out the videos. So this time's episode is going to be something a little different than the past weeks. It won't be focused on one console this week, which I think is kind of fun, mixing it up like a sort of pick a mix of games that I've picked up. And I'm going to start with a game I've just been playing. It's fresh in my mind, and that is NBA 2K16. Ooh, so not a massive fan of basketball, okay? So I'm not a basketball fanatic or anything like that, but I do enjoy a good basketball video game, I have to say. And if you've seen some of my previous videos, you know I've been on sort of a mission to get a basketball game for every format I own. Now, I've decided not to bother with the PS4 now because, you know, games take up a lot of hard drive space nowadays. And seeing that I've got this one now on Xbox One, I don't think I'm going to get a PS4 basketball game. I don't think I'm also going to get a PS4 NHL game either. It's too late with FIFA, I already got one of them. But yeah, I think my sports games are going to reside on my Xbox One. So what do I think about this particular NBA game? Well, a couple of episodes back I looked at NBA 2K13 for the Wii U. I think it was 2K13. And yeah, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it, to be honest. It was a game that's sort of showing its age now, and I should have expected that, of course. But I also had problems with the menu systems. They weren't very good. I wasn't so bowled over by the graphics on it, but it played a good game, basketball. So all this game really has to do is have better graphics and have better menus. Well, it does exactly that. And it does a little bit more as well. The create a player option is extremely good, extremely detailed, and yeah, I managed to make something that looked somewhat like me. Not exactly, of course, but you know, I was relatively happy with it. Until for some reason, after finishing my character, it reverted back to a generic character. And I don't know why that was. I spent quite a bit of time doing it, and so I'm going to do it all over again now. If I want to enjoy the story mode on this, which puts your character in a sort of a dramatic story situation, where I don't know exactly how it's going to play out yet, but I accidentally hit the option to have a look at it, and I was greeted with some FMV and a introduction from the film director Spike Lee. It's quite evident in the front there. They're really selling it on the fact Spike Lee is involved with this. And he's there, and he explains that you're going to have a different type of career mode this time round, and it's going to be very story based, and everything's motion captured. They make quite evident, and yeah, I think that could be fun. I'm looking forward to trying it out. So I'd say this is a complete package. Basketball plays great, as you'd expect it to. I did struggle to find an explanation of the controls in the menus, which was a bit of a shame. It sort of assumes you know exactly what buttons to press, and well, I had an idea. It would be nice just to get a proper, you know, list or visual representation of what the controls are, but I couldn't find that anywhere. What you do get though, or which is incredibly exciting, as I think it boasts it maybe on the front of the box or some, yeah, early tip-off edition. Okay, it says there. So this is the cover of the game. But it wasn't the only cover of the game. There were 3 others, and inside this version, you get, oh, it's upside down, the other 2 covers. I suppose it's interesting to someone, but that's cool that they should give you the option. It's not usual for you to buy a game that has a cover variant and then get 3 different versions of it. Now that you can really stick this inside there if you wish to, I don't know. Actually, you can. It's actually perfectly sized. So if you want to cover up the other player, you can do that. So a little oddity, I'd say. So that's NBA 2K16, very affordable now. I picked it up for about 50 Danish kroner, which is nothing really for what it is. So that's that. Moving swiftly along to a PS4 game. This one is Atari Flashbacks. Oh, sorry, it's not that. It's Atari Flashback Classics, Volume 1. So this isn't just a compilation of old Atari games. This also contains online. It's got multiplayer, of course, as you'd expect from any sort of retro compilation. It's also got online leaderboards as well. I did try and play a couple of these games online when I first got this game, not so long ago now. This isn't fresh new pickup. I've had it for a few weeks now. I got it for a discounted price, I think about 150 kroner, I think, for 50 games. But I couldn't find anybody playing this game online anywhere. Maybe I was just unlucky, or maybe just no one's really playing this online. But you can play it offline, which is nice. It boasts 50 games. Some of those arcade games, for example, Centipede, which is the main star attraction here. There's also Black Widow, which is a very cool game, another arcade game that I rather enjoy. So those two are front and centre of the compilation. Also on this game you get some other classics. You get Pong. I'd say Pong is a little bit difficult to play with a PlayStation 4 controller. Yeah, it's a little bit twitchy. I find I had to kind of push to one side with the stick to feel like I had any sort of control over it, because it's incredibly sensitive. And the D-pad just doesn't give you enough accuracy. So it falls somewhere in the middle, and it's a little bit difficult to play, I find. But yeah, there are other ways to play Pong, of course, but it's nice that it's included. There's a few other games on here that I really like. There's the Dodgem game, I think it's called, and that's a classic arcade game where you're in a maze and you have to collect all the collectibles and not crash into the other car, which is also in the same maze with you. Really like that game, really fun. Now, it's also got Tempest. The arcade version of Tempest is very good. The Atari 2600 version of Tempest is not so good. This is my first time playing a lot of these games. I've played versions of Tempest before, never the 2600 version, which is rather terrible, actually. It tries to replicate the arcade game in sort of like a pseudo 3D kind of way, but it just doesn't really work. Steeplechase, is it? Is that another one that's rather good horse riding game? I think that's what it's called. Let me just check the back here, see if I can remember the game titles here. A handful of them are fun, but the majority of games on this collection, of course, that they show their age, and some of them are very questionable why they were even included, why anyone would want to play any of these particular games ever. So yeah, it really is a mixed bag. I'd say maybe at a stretch, I think maybe 10 of these games are actually still quite good fun now. And maybe that's because I didn't grow up with the Atari. But yeah, it boasts combat as being a great fun game, and maybe it's a better multiplayer game than a single player game. I like the Atari Circus game; that was quite fun. Is it Stronghold, or I can't remember which one? The one where you've got it's a 4-player game, and you're protecting your castle in each corner, and you have to sort of like Pong. You've got to bounce back the projectiles that are trying to destroy your building. Yeah, so don't buy it full price. Maybe my advice for this particular game. It's not got 50 great games on it. It's got a handful of great games on it. So the majority of games on here aren't really that much fun, I wouldn't say. And don't buy it for the multiplayer, online at least. Single player is probably good. Some of these games start very abruptly as well, which is fine, but sometimes it's not really evident whether or not it's a multiplayer game or not. So yeah, sometimes you jump into a game and you'll find it's a 4-player game and it's only you playing. So that's a bit of a pain. But yeah, the arcade versions of the games are the standouts, and there's a handful of original Atari 2600 games which are also quite fun. So that's that one. There's a Volume 2 as well. I'm not sure exactly what's on Volume 2, but they're bound to have held some really great games back for Volume 2. So it's a little bit of a shame you don't just get you can't just buy one and have a complete package. I'm going to move on to some Super Nintendo games here. The first of which I cannot recommend, I'm afraid. It's called Battle Blaze, and it's a one-on-one fighter. It's got 2 modes from the start, and the first of the 2 modes, I was disappointed to find out you couldn't pick your character. So you're always the big burly warrior type guy, and you can choose who you want to fight at the beginning. So yeah, you do that, choose who you want to fight, go into the fight, and it looks great. Visuals I think are rather nice in this game. I like the style of it. But I found the combat to be incredibly limited. I only seem to have 2 attack buttons, which befuzzled me a little bit. I think one of those attack buttons was a jump, to be honest, so I think only 1 attack button. And I couldn't seem to do any moves. I was trying to make warp circles and such, but they weren't having any effect. I could have, I guess, looked this up on the internet and tried to find out the controls and if I was missing anything. But really, I just think this game isn't that good. So in that mode that I played first, you can only be the warrior guy. So I thought, okay, so maybe he's just got some more complex moves. Maybe he does charge moves, perhaps. You know, I've never really gotten to grips with doing charge moves in 2D fighting games. So maybe if I pick one of the speedy characters, so I picked the female character. She looks kind of cool. In fact, she looks like a Soul Calibur character, maybe something like Sophitia. You know, you could be confused for thinking this is a very retro type Soul Calibur weapons-based fighter. There's better weapons-based fighters on the Super Nintendo. For example, Weapon Lord, I think, is a much better game than this. So I picked the female this time, and you know, I think you can choose your opponent. You jump into the fight, and it was the same story. I could do a throw. But yeah, there really isn't a lot of fun to be had. The visuals are nice, character designs are nice. This gameplay seems non-existent, really. How can you even hope to win any of these fights if your moveset is so limited? Let me know in the comments if I'm missing something and I'm not giving this game the credit it deserves. Did you hear that? It was an ambulance. You might have picked up on that. If not, then just ignore me. And yeah, not good. Not good. Not worth getting. Even if you like fighting games, don't get Battle Blaze. I don't think, unless someone wants to tell me otherwise. And lastly, a good fighting game to end with. Whew. This is Muscle Bomber. And Muscle Bomber is a fantastic wrestling game, or is it a fighting game? It's very confusing. Essentially, it's a Capcom 2D fighter, which you know from the off means quality. I'd say in nearly every case. It's got humour, it's got bright visuals. It's also got elements of wrestling in it. So, you're fighting in a ring, you can jump up on the turnbuckle, you can get outside the ring, you can pick up weapons and attack your opponents with them. Countouts are very lenient in this game. I think I got up to a 20 count before and still not been counted out, so I think it's 30 before you get counted out. But you never really want to spend that much time outside of the ring. It does come in handy though if you're in low in health and you want to get away, maybe get an advantage by pulling a weapon out and turning the match around. You can use your momentum by bouncing off the sides of the ring, the ropes, which is very cool. So it's quite easy to pick up and play as well. You know, if you want to get out of the ring, you double tap in the direction to get out. Basically, you double tap to run. You either tap to the left or up, or to the right, whatever direction you were in, to jump up on the turnbuckle. And pinning is quite straightforward as well. You press the A button and down to pin when your opponent is low on health. There's also something going on that you can kind of get more red and then you get more powerful. I think that's as you take damage, you build like a rage. And there's some super moves in there as well, but I've not really got to grips with them yet. I found the Mexican wrestler, I forget his name now. You'll see it probably in the gameplay footage. Stinger or something? It's called Stinger, I think. Could be wrong. He's really good. He's very fast and it's easy to pull off his bison-like charging move. Great characters as well in this game. Nice variety. There are more than appear in the main single-player game. You will fight at least two more in the story mode. And then in the Battle Royale mode, we have up to 4 players in the ring. I've not tried that yet, but I think you might be able to select some of those boss characters, which you can't play as in the main story mode. At least, maybe you can if you complete it. I'm not sure. I don't know if it has a save option on it. I don't think it does. But this game is also known as Saturday Night Slam Masters, and it was released on the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive. That version of the game is a little bit more expensive than this. This is called Muscle Bomber, or subtitled Body Explosion. A much better title if you ask me. And it's very import friendly. There isn't, because it's a fighting game, there isn't really anything you have to read. So I would recommend this game wholeheartedly. It's a bit of, I'd say, this is a hidden gem. This is another great 2D fighter from Capcom with a very unique wrestling angle, and is probably maybe the most fun I've had on a wrestling game of this era, of the 16-bit era. This is one of the most fun wrestling games I've played, because it manages to mix the two genres that I really love, 2D fighting and wrestling games. And unfortunately, I think some of the wrestling games in the 16-bit era suffer from that kind of having to tap the button to win a grapple type mechanic, which yeah, can get a bit frustrating at times. Anyway, Muscle Bomber, really good game. Do check it out if you can. And that brings me to the end of this episode of Parry's Pickups, the big 5-0, 50 episodes. Let me know what you think. If you played any of those games, share your thoughts on them below in the comments. And we'll see you again for another Parry's Pickups. Bye for now, and game on.